Hello. My name is Kyle Gizzani, and today I'm going to be going through my PowerPoint, which is focusing on my reflection and implementation of what I've learned so far in class in our ACTE 630 Current Technology and Online Instruction class. So I'm choosing to use a PowerPoint because I really like the features that they have for accessibility, which I'll talk about a little later. And I felt comfortable using this method, and I'm also using the method of ScreenPal in order to record myself and post online. At the beginning of the course, I didn't feel super comfortable talking in front of a camera, but after we've done a couple assignments and stuff like that, I've definitely felt more comfortable being in front of the camera and just presenting like this. So that's kind of why I chose this method. So to start off with, I have my online teaching philosophy. So these are kind of things that, if I'm an online teacher, these are kind of like the core of my values and what I really want to focus on as that teacher. So some of these bullet points say student-centered learning that focused on engagement and accessibility, building meaningful connections through virtual learning, which both of those things, I mean, all of these things can be done in the regular classroom, but online is very important to focus on them too. Continuously basically improving my teaching and learning, so adapting to the technology because technology is ever changing. So it's important for me as a teacher to kind of not get complacent, not settle for where I'm at, and continue my growth in teaching. So that's something that's definitely important being an online teacher. And then focusing on equity and inclusive practices during the online setting. So just making sure that everyone is included and that everyone has an equal opportunity to learn. So where does this all start? So supporting social emotional learning is, again, important in the regular classroom, but super important online. So you want to maintain a safe and positive online learning environment for students. So you want to build that community aspect where they're feeling comfortable and like they're a part of something, because that will lead to motivation. So the ways that you can do that are providing constant feedback. And the Danielson group provided that quote there that shows that feedback is super, super important, and it can help students be motivated and see what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, and learn from that. There are also opportunities to respond with collaborative activities and discussion boards, which also makes them feel like they are a part of something. And our one Reich chapter, I believe that was chapter 5, said that as well, and it uses that quote. So it talks about why student collaboration is so important to their learning. And that can be involved with both synchronous work and asynchronous work. Social presence is also super important in the classroom. It's important to have constant communication, and I really like this quote from Dickers, Whiteside, and Lewis when they said that there has to be a lot of communication between the teacher and student, the teacher and parent, and the teacher and the advisor. So making sure that everybody's on the same page with the student's learning, that way we can ultimately help them be successful. And then if a student's obviously falling behind in their work, then that's when the communication is even more important. And then forming and creating connections, that's something that I do in my regular 5th grade classroom. That's one of my biggest focuses, especially in the first month of the school year, because if you can't form a connection with students, it's going to be really hard for them to want to do their best for you and really trust everything that you're doing. So building a connection is something that's really important. And online, teachers have to work even harder in order to do that successfully. And then you can also build an online community using daily check-ins, which is something that I focus on in my classroom, but just checking in with the kids each day, like giving them a simple questionnaire. What is your name? How are you feeling today? Why are you feeling that way? And just kind of checking in with them that way. And then giving both students and teachers opportunity to give feedback. So it's not just me always giving the feedback, students can get the feedback as well. And then you can use all different collaboration tools, which I'll be talking a little bit more, but Padlet, Seesaw, Microsoft Teams, like all of those are great references and resources for online teachers. And then using UDL implementation, it's been a long day, in the classroom and online is also very crucial. So there's three principles where this focuses on that we discussed. So you have the representation, you have the engagement, and then you have the action and expressions. So when we're talking about engagement, some tools that you can use are Google Drive, Nearpod, and Plickers, but the focus there is why, focusing on the why of learning. And you want students to be purposeful and motivated. So that would be awesome for that. When you're talking about representation, you're talking about the what of learning. So like what resources can you use? You want to use resources and you want to have a knowledge for what it is that you're teaching. And then some of those resources that you can use are that's like the reader. So like it'll read the page for you, or web clipper or voiceover. Like all of these things make it easier for students to work through. And then you have the action and expression. So that's the how of learning. So like, how are you going to show what you've learned? And there's a bunch of different ways that you can do that too. Clips is like a short way to show videos and stuff. Touchcast Studio is kind of like a podcast type thing. And then iMovie is kind of the same thing, where they can make videos and short clips and stuff like that. And then that's where they're trying to be strategic about their learning and be goal-oriented. So for some of the resources, I kind of just made a slide that shows some of the resources that I thought were super useful from this class. And moving forward, definitely use them as much as possible. So you have the national standards for quality online teaching. Obviously, that's going to give you like guidelines and things like that to really focus on to how to teach effectively. So I kind of linked that here. So if I just click on it, I'm not going to click on it, but if I were to, take me directly to it. You also have the framework for remote teaching from the Danielson group. I thought that was great too, because it really laid out exactly how you can have a positive learning environment through the structure of lessons to positive learning environment, engaging the students, and all of those things. And then I also really like the UDL guidelines, because that really made me realize how UDL isn't just for certain learners, it's for everyone. And kind of incorporating that in the classroom with helping students learn different ways was great for that. And then we got into AI a little bit there at the end of the course, which I really, really enjoyed. So I really liked the AI project book, which kind of introduced AI at the elementary level, which would work for me as a 5th grade teacher, because they really have no experience at all whatsoever with that. And then you have the ChatGPT prompt ebook, which is another great resource, because it can give you the prompts that you'll need to do more advanced searches on ChatGPT and not just typing random stuff in without a meaning. So there was a lot of things that I took away from this course. Slides a little word heavy, and I try not to keep my slides word heavy, but one of the big difference was just understanding differences between synchronous and asynchronous activities and tools that I can use for that, and how to teach that online. Also implementing the UDL tools, which we talked about earlier. Also the online accessibility handbook was something that I really enjoyed a lot. That was something that I had no idea how many adaptions and how many different ways you can change websites and stuff, and Google Slides and PowerPoints, PDFs, to make everything accessible for all learners. So that was another tool that I really liked and am definitely going to be using. So even for example, right now, if I click off screen and check my accessibility, so right now you guys can actually see it says missing object description, picture 9, and it's not letting me do it because my voice is here. So I'll click on that, and then I go to the description. Which one is it? Go here, view all text. Oh, and it was right there. So I actually did this on purpose. So what I would say here is I could just say for students. Ooh, I don't know what I just did there. Hang on. Whoa. All right. Maybe I'm not going to try to type that in. I don't know what just happened there, but I would just type in for students, 4 different students learning, and then UDL. That was funny. And then the straight arrow connector, this was also something that I realized. I guess you can label those too. So that's another option. So just things like that. And I did check these warning, the read orders going through tabbing, were all good as well. when I clicked on like that. It's not letting me do it. Weird. Oh, there we go. All right. Yep. Just like that. So like just small things like that were really, really interesting and eye-opening to me that I'm definitely going to take away from this. And then all the different collaboration strategies and platforms for online learning. So just like I said, the community, the positive interaction, the positive reinforcement is something that teachers that are online teaching have to work extra hard for, because it's not as easy to make those connections. It's not as easy to feel like you're in a community when you are learning online. And then all of these are examples were from that article. And then my aha moments. So like I said, connections, crucial part for online learning, positive, effective learning environment. I also thought the PICRAT matrix was also pretty cool, because I find myself like, I've seen something like this before, not for an online teaching, but it really does make a lot of sense. So are you just using technology to replace, and is it just passive learning? You want the learning to be more intense, so you want it to be more creative. That way the students will be more engaged. And then you want the learning to kind of transform through the use of technology, not just going from traditional practices. So you want to combine those two things, and that's where you're in like the money zone. And then, like I said, accessibility tools, so many more than I realized. I also loved the artificial intelligence module. That was something that I feel like is just going to be more and more applicable, especially as we move on and get more familiar with it. So that's something I'm definitely interested in continuing my learning about. And then, like I said, UDL, not just for specific learners, can be for all learners. So this is just my last slide, just as like sums up everything that I kind of focused on. Like I said, I've really enjoyed this class. It's been an awesome opportunity to kind of see teaching online in a different way, and how all learners can learn differently. And even as an online learner, like you can still be successful. So I'm going to continue to adapt and grow as technology as a teacher. My main focus is engagement, making them feel successful and motivated, because if you can get that, that's half the battle in itself, and then the content can come later. And then, like I said, I'm going to strive to make online learning more inclusive for all students. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate all that you have done for us, and I look forward to continuing my education and working more with online learning. Have a great day.